Once you see what the picture shows, after you move out of the way. How's that looking? Better? Oh yeah. Yeah, it looks a lot better. Okay. I was just wondering.
Death has taken our beloved Ruth. Our friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence there's lamentation. In their tears there's loneliness. Lost in their sorrow may they find the presence of loving friends. Hear them and be with them. For Ruth's love that united us in life and which death cannot sever. For her companionship that we shared along life's path and which continues through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of her heart and mind that brought us joy and happiness and is now a precious remembrance. For all these and more, we give our thanks. Those who wish may join me in the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will hear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. For everything there's a season, a time for every experience under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to discard, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. And the rising of the sun and its going down, we will remember Ruth. And the blowing of the wind and the chill of winter, and the opening of buds and the rebirth of spring, we will remember her. And the rustling of leaves and the beauty of autumn, in the beginning of the year when it ends, we will remember her. When we are weary and in need of strength, when we are lost and sick at heart, we will remember her. When we have joys we yearn to share, we will remember Ruth. So long as we live, Ruth too shall live, for she is now a part of us as we remember her. I've known this family for a long time. I don't want to say how long. Your brother Robert and myself were friends years ago, and I consider him still a friend. You and me were kibbutzing about the old days here in Cleveland, bringing up what was and what still is, mostly the food. Especially where your parents had their store. My four sons. The Mobbies, Solomon's, Tasty Shop, Corky and Lenny's. I can go on and on. It's amazing how in Jewish culture, how we associate with food. But that brings also back the memories of a person. Ruth being 100, I found this reading that truly speaks similar of her life. Birth is a beginning and death a destination. But life is a journey, a going, a growing, from stage to stage. From childhood to maturity and youth to age. From innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing. From foolishness to discretion and then perhaps to wisdom. From weakness to strength or strength to weakness and often back again. From health to sickness, and back we pray to health again. From offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat until looking backward or ahead. We see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made that journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning, death a destination, but life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage made stage by stage, from birth to death to life everlasting. And now I'll call upon her son Barry to deliver some remarks.
Thank you, Bart. I'd like to read a few tributes from people who adored Ruth. From grandson David Schlachter in California. Booby used to tell us, I need kisses. It gives me strength. So we would kiss her, and she would hold up her arms and flex her biceps like a bodybuilder. She would start singing, making up a different song every time, never the same song twice. Booby showed us the only thing we needed to know. Love makes you strong. Everything else is just details. From grandson Zach Schlachter in Texas. Booby, thank you for treating me with love and care that only the baby of the family deserves. I will miss the lifelong teasing you gamely permitted from your grandchildren, but honestly, what I've been cherishing the most is all the time you made for us and how full my childhood was with your presence. I'm sorry we could not all be there with you this past year, but we will be together again as soon as we safely can to honor you and to continue the family bond that you started for us. From Barbie Inkeles, who worked with Ruthie at Rose Schnitzer Manor in Portland, where she lived for the past 10 years. I'm very lucky I got to know your mom all these years, and she sure enjoyed all the bingo games, especially when she won. From Ruth's granddaughter, Corey, in Hawaii. We love you, Booby. We've enjoyed the advice, the Mandelbrot, the double-washed rice, the songs, and every moment of laughter with you. Thank you for being a strong female figure in our lives. Love from your Hawaii grandchildren and great-grandson. From her son, Robert Schlachter in Oregon, Ruthie always pushed her sons to excel and prioritize family and always seemed to want more. For example, in 2005, Robert flew out from Portland to Delray Beach, Florida, to surprise our father on his 88th birthday. After traveling 10.5 hours, he shows up at their home and rings the doorbell. No hello, just, why are you here? Ruth asks with surprise. Robert replies, to visit you and wish Dad a happy birthday. Still no thank you, or asking, how was your trip? Instead, Ruth asks, how long are you going to be here? 2 days, he replies. Clearly not the answer Ruthie wanted to hear. Angry, she yells, you call that a visit? That is not a visit. That is a cup of coffee. Robert, now upset as well, tells Ruth, I will wish Dad a happy birthday and then head back to the airport since you obviously don't appreciate what it took to fly across the country. Seeing he was serious, and Robert was dead serious, Ruthie apologized, a rare move for her, and thanked him for coming and begged him to stay, which he did. They had 2 fun days, and Robert never forgot the difference between a visit and a cup of coffee. From Oahu's North Shore granddaughter Joy Schlachter wrote, thank you, Booby, for all your Booby-isms, especially dating advice. I will always remember you teaching me over 20 years ago what J-date was, pimping me out to your retirement community in Florida. Thank you for boosting my self-esteem by calling me the ultimate specimen. Booby, I will miss your singing, dancing, your zest for life. Love you, Booby. From Truckee, California, granddaughter Jenna Schlachter wrote, Booby had a superpower to make everyone around her feel deeply loved. I will always cherish her spirited energy and, of course, her boundless suggestions. Ruth's niece, Sandy Becker, wrote from South Florida, God sends angels to us on earth masquerading as humans, and Ruth Schlachter was one of them. She brought endless love to everyone that crossed her path. She always had time to listen, never judgmental, and her advice was always the right one. Aunt Ruth was my mentor, my friend, my teacher, inspiration, and surrogate mother. She encouraged me to be the best I could be, regardless of ups and downs of life. She will always be in my heart. Grandson Jeremy Schlachter wrote from Colorado, Booby was an absolute force, but the only thing greater than her tenacity and energy was her love for her family. We are lucky to have had her with us for so long and to carry that love. Ruth Schlachter squeezed an enormous amount from her long life. The 100 years were marked by ambitious projects, accomplished with little background but aided by boundless self-confidence. Ruth built 7 suburban homes in a male-dominated construction industry, ran an antique business, wrote and sold a profile of a paraplegic University Heights City Council member. She dispensed Jewish mother wisdom and remedies during regular appearances on her son Mark's weekly radio show, The Country Doctor. She designed and crafted tallis-adorned bar mitzvah lamps in her 70s. At 85, she acted on a midnight inspiration to provide special warmth to children with a line of plush bears in tiny bedrolls she called comfort teddies. But nothing was more important to her than family, and this meant overcoming an insular background and embracing, sometimes almost too fervently, her diverse universe of grandchildren that would have rendered her East European parents more than a little verklempt. She was born Ruth Jean Arts in Cleveland on July 18th, 1920, the eldest daughter of small-time meat wholesaler Philip Arts and poker-playing Anna Hirsch, a heavy-set, overbearing woman known affectionately, or not, as Slim. It was not the happiest of childhoods. Ruth was charged with caring for 2 siblings, both sickly, who would die young, and she was relegated to the dirtiest of household chores, breaking coal clumps for the basement furnace, while her mother then and throughout her life showed unabashed preference to Ruth's surviving 2 siblings. It also meant her brother could attend college, not her. There was secretarial school after graduation from John Hay High School. Not getting a university education was something she regretted for years. Ruth met Harry. She was 20, he was 23. It was 1940. Their first date was at a skating rink. He later surprised her with an engagement ring, a bagel that he placed on her finger. When she stopped laughing, he replaced it with a real one. They married in 1941, 4 months before Pearl Harbor. They'd be together 65 years. In Polish-born Harry Schlachter, she found a life partner who reveled in her lavish capacity to love. Having grown up in poverty with a stint in an orphanage, he even relished her minimalist approach to cooking. She would follow him to Texas and North Carolina when he was called up for service, with a newborn in tow named Mark, the first of 4 sons. The Schlachter household was a raucous, sometimes challenging environment, with Ruth coping with her youngest son Jay's congenital heart condition and Mark's ever wilder menagerie that included 30 hamsters, a dozen long-haired guinea pigs, a half-paralyzed monkey named Coco, a scrum of Japanese silky chickens, parakeets, several baby crocodiles, countless tropical fish, including a pair of piranhas. The smaller children took turns riding Rusty, the pet collie. Somehow Ruth not only found time for, but took leadership positions in the American Heart Association, running its fundraising campaigns in Beechwood, then a large section of northern Ohio. And, yearning for the daughter she never had, became active in Campfire Girls. She also counseled unwed pregnant women. I hadn't known how different Ruth was to other mothers until I saw streams of Robert's wealthy Gentile friends from university school stop by for a dose of her warmth and humor. When a college friend of Robert's was thrown out of his house, Ruth took him in. And though our small brick home on East Baintree was already full of kids and animals, Ruth didn't hesitate to take in her niece Sandy during some chaotic teen years. Ruth threw a fit when the Plain Dealer reported I was among those arrested in Pittsburgh during a campus protest. Imagine my surprise then when I came home a few months later and found the house full of anti-war and Eugene McCarthy signs. "I don't want my sons to go to Vietnam," she explained. With age, Ruth mellowed but never lost her sense of humor, sometimes bordering on the subversive. After her grandson named David repeatedly tugged on her neck waddle, he received a packet in the mail at college with no return address. Ripping it open, a foul-smelling turkey neck fell out. It was payback, booby style. After retiring to Florida with Harry, the ever-restless Ruth started her lamp-making, then her comfort teddy business. Together they traveled around the world, Hawaii, India, Israel, East Africa. Sometimes it was the only way to maintain bonds with far-flung grandchildren. Her mantra to these descendants, never give advice. Then, without missing a beat or grasping the contradiction, she'd unload a lifetime of recommendations, admonitions, and all-purpose tips. In Yiddish, a person who dispenses such unsolicited advice is an Etzgeber, and her predilection literally saw no boundaries. When Ruth and Harry visited New Delhi, Indira Gandhi was out of power. But most mornings, the Iron Lady of India received members of the public in her driveway, not far from my home. I drove them over, and they greeted the former prime minister with a slight bow and palms touching as Mrs. Gandhi stopped and said hello to each well-wisher, including the awestruck Clevelanders. The next day, Ruth woke, demanding I take her back immediately because, in her words, I know how to solve India's problems. And I need to tell Indira. I refused. It was the start of a drawn-out argument that ended only when they boarded their flight home. But I should have at least listened to what Ruth had to say. Even though she had never set foot in South Asia before, who could tell what wisdom this Jewish grandmother with an amazing chutzpah-powered track record could have imparted? We'll never know.
We are assembled with our friends in the darkness that has fallen upon them. We raise our voices together to the source of life, asking for comfort and strength. We need light when gloom darkens our lives. We need fortitude and courage when pain and loss assail us. May we find the ease in God who preserves from destruction all that is good. Let us find them too in loved ones and companions who do God's work by binding up the wounds of the stricken. Who among us has not passed through trials and bereavements? Some bear fresh wounds in their hearts and therefore feel more keenly the kinship of sorrow. Others whose days of mourning are more remote still recall the comfort that sympathy brought to their sorrowing hearts. May our sharing of sorrow and our deeds of solace bring comfort to the loved ones of Ruth Schlachter. God, you gave us loved ones and make them the strength of our life and the light of our eyes. They depart and leave us on a lonely way, but you are the living fountain from which our healing flows. To you the stricken look for comfort and the sorrow laden for consolation. Oh God, we see life as through windows that open on eternity. We see that love endures and the soul endures, as you endure forever. We see that the years are more than grass that withers, more than flowers that fade. They weave a timeless pattern in the world that is a dwelling place of your love and glory. Please rise for the memorial prayer. El Malay Rachamim Shochem Bamramim Hamsei Menucha Nacha Tacha Kamfei Hashkina Im Kodashim Ucharim Kazor Harakias Miserim Es Nishmas Ruth Schlachter Shalach Le'olamo Be'al Harachamim Es Direhu B'Sezer Kanafol Le'olomim V'Yitzor B'Zor Chachayim Es Nishmato Adonai hu nachalato v'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavav v'namar amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Ruth Schlachter, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance, and may she rest in peace. And let us all say, Amen. This concludes our service here at our chapel. The burial will continue at Hillcrest Memorial Park in Bedford. On behalf of the family that's here and those who were unable to join us in person but are here by one room live streaming, it's my honor to say on their behalf, thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing their grief, but more importantly, thank you for sharing their memories of Ruth. Thank you.